Hey everyone, this is Admiral Seabass, and welcome back to Operation Killing Fields. Have an announcement to make. The United Nations has met with representatives from the Soviet government in Moscow, from the U.S. government in Washington, and from the Chinese government in... they have decided to institute an immediate ceasefire and a negotiated peace agreement between the three parties. And so that's just a little bit of fun narrative for you to say. We have talked and we have decided that we are going to end this game. And why are we doing that? Well, we talked and we just don't see any way that the Soviets don't win this game. Even though, according to the rules of the game, variable ending rolls should have started at the end of this turn 12, but our nuclear fallout is at 0. So there's no possibility of it ending this turn. I guess there's a small possibility, very small possibility it could end at the end of turn 13. But then at the end of turn 14, we start to add to that just a random die roll and a 50% chance on each turn that it would end. And we just didn't see any way that the Soviets would not end up victorious in this game. So congratulations to my opponents for playing a really great game, being two great guys, fun guys to play with, Captain G and Ozark Outpost. So thank you, gentlemen. Let's go over the victory points. So what we have, and this is not a final production version, though the final version will look similar to this. So this is our strategic objective play aid, and you can use this to track victory points for all 7 major factions in this game in all 3 scenarios, scenario 1, 2, and 3. So, for example, you see there Taiwan possessed for China. That's 2 victory points in scenario 1, which we're currently playing, and it's 6 victory points in scenario 3 on the right there. Anyway, so let's go through the victory points. So, for Far East Command, they get their victory points in 2 ways. One is called Far East Border Security, and that's all about possession of Manchurian land zones. The other is called Pacific Dominance, and it's all about their base IPP plus wartime adjustments, or how much IPP they're collecting. So you can see for them, they really got to focus on Manchuria plus just collecting a lot of IPP and getting as much IPP as they can. So let's go check Manchuria. And we see there that North, Central, and Southern Manchuria are all possessed by Soviet Far East Command. So that means that they will max those out, and we will just place that here. So that's 1 VP for Northern Manchuria. That's 2 victory points for Central, and another 2 for Southern Manchuria. And then on Pacific Dominance, that is base IPP plus wartime bonus. So if Soviets base IPP is at 19, they have wartime bonuses of 14 for a total of 33. And you see there, if they have 29 plus, then they get 4 victory points. So the Soviets have maxed their VPs at 9. Now for the Pacific Command, you see here Pacific Democracy. So they need to have territorial integrity in Indonesia, Australia, and New Zealand. Territorial integrity means all land zones must be possessed by either Pacific Command or must have stayed neutral. So we see here all of Indonesia is, except for Sumatra, is possessed by Far East Command. So they cannot get that 1 victory point. And then Japan and Philippines have to have territorial integrity. And Japan definitely has territorial integrity, but Philippines here does not. So that will cost Pacific Command 3 victory points, or the option or the opportunity to get 3 VPs. And then the same thing here. I think it's Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand have to have territorial integrity, and the Far East Command has all of those except Hong Kong. And so that's a big one. That's 5 victory points. And so Pacific Command will finish with 0. And then China. China is looking at possessing Taiwan, possessing Cambodia, Hong Kong, Ulaanbaatar, or South Vietnam for a possibility of 2 victory points, finishing a couple of techs, and then doing force modernization. And China did manage to get land, air, and on turn 12, naval force modernization complete. That gives them 3 victory points. However, they have some subtractions to that. And the subtractions would be every home country land zone that's enemy possessed is 1 victory point subtraction each. And so for 1, 2, 3, that's 3 victory points. And they've lost all 3 of those there. They also lost a half victory point because there's a minor city right there in southern Manchuria, which is also enemy possessed. So they finished with 3, but with subtractions, the net is 0. So net, as they like to say, the final tally is Soviet Far East Command 9, Pacific Command 0, and China 0. So I just want to talk a little bit about the game and my strategy and what I was trying to accomplish. So with the Bamboo Curtain event, it really gives the Soviets a leg up in Southeast Asia at the start of the game. We get Cambodia. I knew I needed more ships down here to keep Pacific Command in particular from coming in here and trying to retake a bunch of these territories. So really wanted to build that minor shipyard in Cambodia, which you can see right there. That really helped me maintain a naval presence down here, because otherwise, and you see here, that's why I wanted to damage the Pak shipyard here, because these 2 shipyards really let Pacific Command build a lot of naval units, which can pressure the Far East Command here. So building that one and then placing this one with my naval battle star was really important to my strategy. And then the other thing is, I really wanted to take the Philippines. Philippines here is a very strategic location, and if FEC doesn't take it, the Pacific Command can really use it as a base to push back into Southeast Asia here. So I think the blockade maneuver that I did against Pacific Command early really helped me take the initiative against Pacific Command. And then I tried to really never let that go. And in particular, I didn't ever really intend to take Jakarta or pressure South Indonesia at all, but the opportunity kind of presented itself. I had the units, and I wanted to do that, so I was able to take advantage of that and keep the pressure on Pacific Command. I think another thing I did to kind of try to keep the initiative was when I put a bunch of stuff up here into Magadan that threatened Alaska over there. That forced Captain G to respond to that. Again, tried to keep him on the defensive as much as possible. And then I think last, the thing that I did that really helped against Pacific Command was he was really, really emphasizing his super carriers and the air superiority fighters on the super carriers, making it really hard for me to hit his task force with anti-ship missiles and use my backfires and my SSGNs to hit those. And so I finally kind of settled on, well, I'm just going to kind of have to do this the old-fashioned way and just build surface power. And so this fleet right here that's off the Philippines, you know, you see that it's just got all surface ships in it. And I think when I was able to kill his battleships and his cruisers and the majority of his surface fleet, honestly, at that point, I kind of thought the game was over, because I didn't think he'd be able to recover from that. He really needed to build amphibious assault ships in either Japan or Australia to try to retake some of these land zones. And once the Far East Command kind of ruled the seas, then I really kind of thought the writing was on the wall. And then with China, the thing I really wanted to do with China is try to take Manchuria here and then camp out there, build as much as I could there, and then keep them from expanding down here into Southeast Asia themselves. And so I did a couple of things to try to support that strategy. First, China has a ton of these early gen fighters right here. In fact, I think they start with like 9 or 10 of them in the game. And they can be really potent in helping China either recapture southern Manchuria from the Soviets or take out Vietnam. And so I've talked to myself, like, how can I counter that? And the solution that I came up with was SAMs. You know, And so the first time that I took Southern Manchuria, I wanted to go in there with at least 3 or 4 SAMs left over, so that if Ozark did consolidate his early gen fighters and try to retake Southern Manchuria, then I would have a lot of SAMs with first strike that could try to take out as many of his early gen fighters as possible. And the other nice thing is that these SAMs could themselves be taken as casualties because they only fire on the first round. So if you're really facing an opponent who's heavy into air and they're coming at you with a lot of air units, a ton of SAMs can be really, really effective to defend. And then the other thing is North Viet and South Vietnam were really important for my strategy because I had a naval air station in South Vietnam, and North and South Vietnam don't automatically align to the Far East Command, which makes them harder to attack. And so I wanted to send them military aid, and I was able to do that and just build a ton of these light infantry here in North and South Vietnam. I sent them both a SAM also, and I really wanted to make it hard for China in particular to think about coming down here into Vietnam and messing with my base of operations there. So I think that covers most of my strategy and how I tried to approach this game. Again, I'm the designer. I know I'm biased, but I hadn't played this game in a while, but man, this was fun. This game is very strategic. It forces you to make really good choices. It forces you to plan long term. And as a player, I just absolutely love that. And I think the game really, really rewards good, sound strategy as much as it can. So congrats to Captain G, who was playing Pacific Command. Congrats to Ozark Outpost, who was playing China. Worthy and formidable opponents, and I would play again with them in a heartbeat. So with that, I will sign off for Operation Killing Fields and say take care, everyone. Admiral Seabass, signing off.